All right, hello everybody. We are back with another episode of Flecking Hallsome Breakdowns, breaking down WandaVision episode 6. Spoiler warning, top of the show. We're excited. We're excited. This is a good one. I'm really excited. Like right at the bat, I'm really excited to see where the rest of the show goes. Like already. B Python, Monster Magpie, uh, Riley. Thank you for dropping by. Good to see you guys. All right, so as always, we're gonna start the show with a breakdown or with a quick summary. This is gonna be a real quick summary as far as events go. There's like 4 things that you need to know. So it's gonna be really quick, and then we're gonna jump right into the breakdown. So the big things: Tommy and Billy, same age, but they're older. They're hanging out more. They're hanging out with Uncle Pietro. Um, Pietro is a pretty important character throughout this whole episode, a really key character throughout this whole episode. We get some more weird moments with Wanda and Vision where, Vision stops acting as if he's playing along. He kind of stops playing along a lot in this episode. And it kind of throws Wanda off. It throws her off her groove a lot. We learn that Tommy and Billy are now not just references to comic book characters Wiccan and Speed. We learn that they are, in fact, Wiccan and Speed.
Yes,
that
sir.
Made me so happy.
Yes, sir.
And it made me really happy because Billy's costume was his Wiccan outfit.
Yeah.
It was just like a $2 Wiccan outfit kind of thing. And then we get some weird moments with Pietro. And get some weird moments with Pietro that he sort of lets on that he knows more about what's going on than anyone else. He seems to know a lot about what's going on in this universe and is kind of coaxing Wanda, like, it's okay, I know what's going on, I think you're in the right here, which is very weird. And then, the moment we've all been waiting for. Obviously, this was the Halloween episode. Jared and I have been talking about this Halloween episode for a month. So the moment we've all been waiting for, Vision, while saying he was on night watch duty, goes around the rest of the city without Wanda. The key point is that he is without Wanda's supervision. And now he starts noticing, glitches in the matrix of people just repeating activities or just full on stopped. They are just dead in their tracks, not doing anything. He finds Agnes sitting in her car at a stop sign I can't remember the road name right now.
Ellis,
thank you. At Ellis Road. And finds her sitting in her car at that stop sign, again, not moving, not doing anything. Although, for some reason, and I have a theory, she is able to respond to him when being questioned by him, unlike everyone else in this area who could not respond. He does his little mind thing again that we'd seen him do to Norm in the last episode. And then she goes on her way, back to normal, everything's all hunky-dory. Vision then investigates the wall, the hex wall, leading himself outside, being ripped to shreds as he's trying to get out. And Hayward and the rest of SWORD just kind of stand there and watch. They aren't doing anything. We don't know why. Probably because Hayward's a dick and a terrorist. And then, as this happens, we'd already learned that Tommy was Speed. He had picked up his powers. Now we learn that Billy is Wiccan because he can hear his dad. He's got Wanda's telepathy. And he's able to hear his dad crying out from outside the wall. He's able to hear Hayward's comments, which I thought was really cool, that he could hear what Hayward was saying about it. Which leads to the kids going to their mom, going to Wanda blasting Pietro for saying something about, well, your dead husband can't die twice, right? And then the wall starts absorbing everything. We get the sort of the Langoliers, the world is falling apart now. That was it. We ended. Darcy got put into the portal. The whole SWORD outpost got put into the portal, into the hex. It's now a circus. And then Hayward was trying to call out to any surviving SWORD members. And I don't think Jimmy and Monica got out, but they didn't respond to Hayward's call.
Of course not.
Of course not. So it's interesting to see what that dynamic is. And that's it. That was the episode. It ended right there. Wanda coming back into. She's got her nice solid red eyes, and now the world is. This Bigger. Is the way the world ends. So yeah, Jared, if you want to start off then with some things you want to talk about.
Give you a guess on who I'm gonna.
Are you gonna start talking about Pietro?
No.
No. You gonna talk about Wiccan and Speed?
I'm gonna talk about Agnes.
Oh, okay. okay.
So, one thing I did find interesting.
Okay, there you go. I couldn't hear you for a bit. You're good now.
Okay, one thing I found interesting is Agnes shows up in the intro of this episode, but she's hardly in this episode at all. Like, until that's the only scene she's in is when she's at the stop sign. She's all confused. And then, okay. So, Vision...
We have a lot of similar...
Vision is sporting his, classic Vision costume, right? Wanda sporting her classic Wanda costume. Wiccan sporting his classic Wiccan costume. Quicksilver, his classic Quicksilver costume. So, I'm seeing a theme of costumes representing who people are. You know what kind of costume Agnes was wearing? A witch's costume. Yep.
Not only that, she had
I'm all for
laughing maniacally of
they were comparing that to Wizard of Oz type Wicked Witch of the West. And then I thought it was super interesting. So when Vision snaps her out of her thing, she mentions that he's in the Avengers. He has no clue what she's talking about. He doesn't know what the Avengers are. That's interesting.
I want to go in a little bit more on that in a bit. I'll let you finish, but
I'll break it down. So I'll talk about a certain section, and then you can go ahead and elaborate.
Okay.
And then just one kind. It's not really important, but in the intro, we see Agnes bent over in the refrigerator, and it goes to her butt, and she's wearing sweatpants that say "naughty." Yeah. I think she's a naughty girl. So
it's not her fault. She has unusually high libido. There's no taming that tiger.
She just keeps eating oysters. It's nature's aphrodisiac. So that's kind of my thing with Agnes. So when Vision snaps her out, it does make me think that he actually has the Mind Stone. Because, he's using powers that... And, you yellow. See that yellow glow. Yeah. So I think that's... I don't know. I'm interested to see how that gets explained, how he's actually back. Mm-hmm. But also, she, this whole time throughout the episode, she's been the one who seems, aware of what's going on. And then, she had to be snapped out of this. I think it's because she got so out of range. I think her being close to Wanda is what makes her able to, know what's going on. That's my personal thing. I think that's kind of interesting how it just decided to change for this episode.
Maybe. I have a different theory.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. And then she also goes straight into blaming Wanda. She's like, it's all Wanda. She's controlling everything. Where Norm just said she, which opened it to Agnes or Dottie, pretty much. But there's also the idea that Agnes is always quick to shift blame. Because when Vision starts talking to Agnes and Herb, right? She automatically switches it to, hey, you know how Monica, Geraldine, doesn't have a house? That's kind of weird, huh? Mm-hmm. So it's she's trying to keep attention off of herself. But yeah, okay. On to you. What do you got about Agnes?
So, again, kind of going back to my point, I had brought up that when Vision's, outside of this range, obviously we see Hayward striking him, we see the people around them from Hayward, but Vision is so far to the edge of the city. Obviously, he's right on the hex wall. He's way far from Wanda. So we see these people stopped. They're dead stopped. He can't even get a response out of anybody. And even that woman hanging up the skeleton, who I swear is Kate Segal from the Haunting series. It looks like her, but I haven't looked it up yet.
I got you.
Thank you. But, she's crying and everything, but still on a loop. And that's still more than what we got from these people out on Ellis Road. So it was weird to me that without being snapped out of her trance, Agnes is able to talk. She's able to, and she's farther out than the rest of them. She's at Ellis Road. Mm-hmm. She's at that wall. So she's, it's weird to me that she was able to talk. So my thinking is she knows that Vision has snapped people out. I mean, she kind of, there's got to be some way of her knowing that people have been in and out of her trance. If it's her. This is me saying that this is Magnet.
He said it. He said it.
Under control, to clarify. But I think she's playing along. And that she knows Vision's going to try and snap her out of it, so she's now playing up a different character, going on about the Avengers, talking about how he's dead. She's trying to psych him out. We already learned in the last episode he has no idea of anything of his past. So now bringing up his past specifically in a specific nature like that about the Avengers and being dead, that's going to psych him out completely and get him to, get out. I think she was trying to get him to leave and die outside of the wall. And again, she's like, why would her human self, her not trance self, laugh so maniacally like that? That's a little weird as well. It's like she's laughing like a witch, cackling like a witch, and then she goes back to, well, hi neighborino, it's a happy Halloweeny, and I don't think so. I think she was playing along, but also trying to get. I think she's trying to get Vision out of the picture because now Vision knows what's going on.
He's on the defense for what's happening.
He even made the comment, which I loved how they didn't break in this episode. Yeah. All the little side comments that were out of the ordinary. It was just like it was natural.
Yeah, it was straight.
And so, at the beginning of the episode, we see him in classic Vision costume. Pietro makes his comments, and then Wanda says, "Thank you, honey, for indulging me. Thank you for playing along, or whatever." And Vision just outright says, "Well, there were no other clothes in my closet." She didn't prepare the clothes for him. He had to do this. This was what he had to wear. And so little digs like that. So I think. And
then the thing where he's like, "I'm going on Washington." She's like, "But you're not supposed to do." Yeah. Yeah. And then he's like, "I'm supposed to do what?
I'm not what?
Say it. Rewind me.
Rewind me right in front of your dead brother. Rewind your dead husband in front of your dead brother."
And that's a good cue to my next point. Pietro / Peter / Quicksilver. So, okay. Obviously, we see that Evan Peter is in the show now. One thing kind of just detail-wise for how Marvel produced this is his speed, how it's visualized is exactly like Quicksilver's. You see the trails behind him and you can kind of keep your eye on him rather than how it is in the X-Men where it's just quick snaps, you hear and then he's somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting, just the style choice. It could also just be them trying to make it more 90s-esque. But I thought that was interesting, just continuity-wise.
Right.
Let's see. So he's introduced as Pietro, but he says the line, "Uncle Peter to the rescue." So he refers to himself as Peter.
Does he?
Yeah, he does.
That one. Oh.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. Just kind of breaking that, not really a fourth wall, because it's not reference to the audience, but that's something the audience knows.
Right, that we know that he's Peter from X-Men, not Pietro from Avengers.
And then this is fourth wall, but Tommy describes something as kick-ass, and then Wanda repeats it. And I thought that was kind of funny because Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson were both in Kick-Ass together.
Yeah.
I'm aw, that's nice of them. Good for them.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I enjoyed that one.
And then obviously, the big part is Evan Peters Quicksilver is just so in the now. Like he acts like he knows what's going on 1,000%, and he's just like okay with it. Like he mentions he like tries to comfort Wanda with the idea that like, yeah, this is like you're okay. What you're doing is fine. Which like
it's not.
Don't know about that. But Wanda obviously she knows that this like isn't her actual brother. She knows what her brother looks like. So she's constantly not constantly, but a couple times throughout the episode, she brings stuff up that only the real Pietro would know. And go ahead.
Not only that, when Peter brings stuff up, she'll kind of go back and like, well, that's not how I remember it. Like he's now filling her head with false memories.
Because Evan Peters explains to Wanda how like he heard her calling his name and then he was like there. And then he also remembers getting shot down in the street but now he's like here. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how they explain how he traveled. But like I think it's clear that Wanda doesn't trust him. As of right now, at least. I think it, especially towards the end when she blasted him for making a comment about her dead husband.
Yeah.
Which, that's just really funny, because he did die twice in Infinity War. And then I'm actually a really big fan of this theory, talking about that Peter Maximoff might be the manifestation of Mephisto.
I was going to get to that. I was going to say, you brought it up last week that you're like, yeah, this might be, what happened.
I don't trust him. And that leads me to another point. So Elizabeth Olsen, she said cameo. When she made her post, she was very clear, cameo. You know what the definition of a cameo is?
One episode.
Cameo role or cameo appearance is a brief appearance or voice part of a well-known person. So I really don't think that that's who she was talking about. I think someone else is going to show up.
Yeah, it's now that seeing the way they used him, I'm kind of like, okay, there's somebody else is coming. The other shoe has not dropped yet.
Okay, Mephisto thing right quick, but I really hope it's Michael Fassbender. I've seen a couple things that are theorizing that he could show up. Even just for like half a second. If Michael Fassbender shows up in this show, I will shit. I will soil myself. Or there are some theories leading up to being Reed Richards as the aerospace contact for Monica. I'd also be okay with that because I'm a big fan of Fantastic Four.
It would be interesting because if you think back to the first Sword episode, was it episode 4?
Yeah.
Hayward talks about how he's got limited number of astronauts. And like,
yeah,
it's like that.
Fantastic Four.
That's how the Fantastic Four.
Okay, we know that.
Like, that could be, yeah.
Okay, so going back to the Mephisto, Peter thing.
Devil Daddy.
So he makes some like remarks that are very like. Even if this is a different Peter, neither of them would say this. And it's like, he said, unleash hell, demon spawn, which I think is a nice little poke at the kids, because in the comics, the kids are like a spawn of Mephisto.
Yep.
And then he even says the kids need a father figure when Vision leaves. Which is another, like...
That was another one that I was... Sorry, I choked on my Gatorade.
You're good.
Okay, yeah. That was another one that I thought was really interesting. Of like, that was a certain choice of words you used there.
And they were so abrupt. Like, you caught those when you watched the episode. Like, that's not something you had to find. You're like, that's weird.
No, yeah. It was in the open. It was like, just smacked you in the face with it this time.
Yeah. And then he also said, damn it, if Westview, New Jersey isn't charming as hell. I think, like, that's such a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know his character was introduced as, like, a bit odd, but, like, that's so, like, that's too odd to, like, make sense.
Yeah.
All right. Would you like to add to any of that?
Kind of. So, we get, it's still in this, the Evan Peters is Mephisto. sort of thing. Obviously, he shows up. He's very adamant on Wanda being okay. He's like, it's the same with Agnes. He's trying to make her feel comfortable around him about her magic. Agnes she's already comfortable enough. Like, she still obviously wouldn't do it directly to her face. Obviously, she's done it more coyly, but still out in the open. But she's more comfortable with Agnes now. So, like, obviously, Pietro is trying to do that for her as well. Like, no, it's okay. I think it's cool. Yada yada. And then we get the commercial. The commercial break. First off, jarring as hell. If I actually saw that on TV as a kid, I would have shit myself and ran away crying.
Yeah.
But it's a kid in red sitting alone on an island, starving and dying. Like, he's stranded. And then we get a shark coming out offering him some yogurt. But it's
Yo magic.
He says, the shark specifically says, the kid asks, well, how'd you do it? How'd you survive? The shark says, I was snacking on Yo Magic. Again, it's a play on words. Like, the brand is Yo Magic, but this kid's in red. This kid has to be Wanda. Like, it has to be a reference to Wanda. The shark is giving her what she wants: Vision, her brother, a family, a life that she's always wanted, and then she dies. This kid just dies on the island. It's like, he can't get the yogurt open, and he dies, and that's it. That's the commercial. So I'm thinking that's what this is. Evan Peters is the shark. He's now showing up. He's like, hey, I'm with you. Let's keep this going. You got talking about Shangri-La and not thinking of the past. Like, this is what you want. Keep going. Keep doing it. All the while, he is feeding on her, getting her to use her magic more abruptly. Obviously, the hex spreads in this episode. He's using her to, farm this world, make this, take over this world in this new reality or whatever, stealing her magic more than likely, and using the kids for that as well. She's got the kids now that she doesn't want to lose. That's a huge like bargaining chip that if this is Mephisto, he would have. So I
like that. I didn't even think about that. I haven't seen that on anything either. The stuff I have seen is because they keep trying to relate the commercials to what they represent in Wanda's life. So that would make sense, because the last one was Lagos. That's like the most recent.
Right.
And now this has like death and stuff. So that could represent Vision, but with how fast time is progressing, that could encompass like everything that has happened. And this is the first one without real people in it too, because like we had that one commercial actress who had been in a couple episodes, and then let's see. Yeah, this was saying that this could represent another Infinity Stone as well, because they're saying the first one represented the Reality Stone, like the toaster was the Reality Stone, the watch was the Time Stone, then the soap looked like the Tesseract, then Lagos was... No, red is the Reality Stone, right?
Yeah, so Lagos.
Okay, Lagos, that's the
red one, the Reality.
Yeah, what are all of them? We got the Mind Stone, Reality Stone...
Reality, space, time, so we need soul and power. Purple and green.
Power.
Or purple and orange.
So they're saying that this might represent the Soul Stone, because the skeleton's wearing red and it kind of looks like Red Skull, like with the skull at the end.
Yeah.
So they're saying that could represent it. And like as the sun goes by, it's like an orangish hue. So I don't think it means anything, but I think it might be just like a little note with how people are putting those together.
Yeah. I would say it could be, because we'd brought up, like, obviously a lot of these commercials have been something directly related to her life. The Strucker watch, she was captive by Strucker. Lagos was where she dropped the ball. But you had brought up that, like, the Hydra soap looks like a Tesseract. And I agree. Like, I definitely don't disagree with that. I just thought it was kind of weird, because it's like, Wanda's never had experience with the Tesseract. By that point, the Tesseract was out of the picture. They had already... somebody else already had that by then. It was back on Asgard.
It's valid.
So it's like I don't know that that's directly. That could be just a nice little callback for the
Yeah,
rest
like,
of us.
yeah.
But
She's obviously knows of the stones, so yeah, that's valid. That it wouldn't really like make sense to have the Tesseract.
right.
Okay, let's see.
You know, I'm very partial to my own theory because like I was like that's like snacking on
That's
you
pretty
magic. I
good.
was like
That's pretty
very...
good. Like I do agree with like the like theory, like because that's what it says. It's like could represent the soul stone and everything, but it's also very clear that snack on yo magic, and obviously like the era it's in, yo is you, like
yeah.
that's how it was used. So that also brings me to another a more homey point of when Wanda and Peter are walking in front of the movie theater, and we see that they're airing The Incredibles and The Parent Trap. Incredibles, which is obviously a family with powers, and then Parent Trap, which is twins. Who this can be taken two ways: twins that switch like places, so that could represent Peter and Pietro.
Yep. Okay.
But it also represents twins that like came together for the first time, which could also be Peter and Wanda. But it's like obviously the twin part is clear. I think
I like the twins switching places a lot better.
Yeah, I like that one. Like the next X-Men movie, they're gonna be like, "Holy shit, Peter's dead!"
Holy shit, Aaron Taylor Thomas, how'd you get here?
See, there's something else. Oh, so thing I think you forgot to mention in your summary. That's okay. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. Monica, Wu, and Darcy, they get kicked out of like Hayward's project. He's like, "Fuck y'all," and they're like, "Damn." And then, but they sneak back in, and Darcy, with her magic hacking skills, is trying to get into Hayward's files, and she finds out that Hayward is tracking Vision, and it says that it's vibranium,
and like vibranium.
Yeah, the like. But sure, yeah, that makes sense. But I like another theory better. Because like Wanda rescued his body, and I've seen some speculation on whether or not the footage we see of her rescuing his body is actually Vision's body, because they talked about the scene that was cut from the extra credits. She pulled him out of like the wall, like in a box, like how
a body bag. Like
how morgues are. But this body is all split up and everything. This is a tangent, but there's some theorizing. Actually, I'll wait. I'll hold back on that, because that leads me into a point I want to get.
I was saying you're leading me to something else I want to talk about, so we'll get there.
So I don't know if they were experimenting on Vision's body, I could see it being more as like an actual tracker in him, because it shows people around him too. And if you're tracking the decay of like a material, that doesn't have echolocation. Right. So I think there's definitely more to that, because that wasn't a throwaway, but it wasn't really focused on, besides the fact that they were like, oh, he's close to the wall, and then they all watched him get torn apart. Like,
right. Well, and I think obviously the big thing about that too is not only are they tracking Vision, Hayward can see inside the hex. He is able to now see things inside the hex.
Like that's new information to like everyone.
Right.
So that's a whole thing, and then Monica and Wu leave to meet up with the contact about building the vehicle to break into the hex. Mm-hmm. So this is now going to lead me into my next point of the name of the stuff was called cataract. Now, the definition of a cataract is obviously is a medical condition in which the lens of the eye becomes progressively opaque, resulting in blurred vision or impaired vision. I mean, it's like cataracts, like that's what people can't see.
Wait, what was the equipment of what was called cataract? Like what equipment?
Like the stuff Darcy was hacking into, like the name of Hayward's files was called cataract.
Okay, yeah, I missed that one.
So that also leads into the theory that they could have been experimenting on Ultron's body, trying to build an anti-vision called cataract. which I think's kind of cool. Like I think that's
cool.
That's almost like too much. Like, we have to put this in context. We have 3 episodes left. They don't have a whole lot of time to. Yeah, 7, 8, 9. Yep. They don't have a whole lot of time to like drop all of that information on us. I think that'd be pretty tough unless the last 2 episodes are like an hour long. But like,
yeah.
I don't think they will be, and that just seems like it'd be completely separate from everything. Like, it might be name dropped as an introduction for something else, but that almost seems like too much.
I mean, we have to remember too. Like, I don't think we're gonna get all the answers we want in this show. And
yeah, for sure. They have to keep us hooked for other shows.
Setting up everything else in as best they can. So with Sword, obviously we know this is before. Again, going back to, we know this is before Homecoming or Far From Home. We know that Sword is introduced in Far From Home with the space station that Nick Fury's on. We know that Talos is Nick Fury on Earth. I think there's something with some Secret War as well. They talked about the Nick Fury, the Secret War show. That could be what Sword is setting up. Like this stuff with Sword, with Vision and Anti-Vision, the Skrull. Hayward could be a Skrull.
Well, that's another thing with the theorizing the contacts. Like, yeah, we want it to be Reed Richards, but obviously Monica has contact with the Skrull, so it's possible that it could be one of them too. Because that'd be like oh yeah, that's kind of cool. It's not important. Like, I think people are just getting really caught up in the idea that because each episode is split a week, that something needs to happen each episode, but it doesn't. They don't need to give that to us.
No, yeah, I was like, yeah, especially. As much as I love the Fantastic Four, so excited the Fantastic Four are announced and in the MCU. Honestly, it goes back to what I was saying. Honestly, if we were to announce Reed Richards as a player in this game, it's gonna be too big. Because
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
how the fuck he is the way he is if he's Mr. Fantastic already, like that.
Like, there's all these theories that we want to happen, but like in theory, it can only be like one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Monica, that's another thing Darcy uncovers in like the files when she finds out Hayward's tracking Vision, is that like they had the blood work on Darcy and it showed that her cells were like altering because she'd been through.
Not Monica, not Darcy.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
my bad.
I just want to make sure.
But Monica's cells were altered because she had been through the Hex Wall twice. And that's 100% putting her in place as Photon. Yeah. I also think that might lead her to contact like Captain Marvel and become Miss Marvel as like her apprentice. Because I mean, technically,
yeah,
like Captain Marvel is what, like 30 years older than her, something like that. Like, she still looks young because of who she is.
Right.
But I mean, she met her when she was a child.
Yeah.
So I think that will be pretty interesting to see. Let's see what else I can uncover.
Before we get too far off of that, so we're talking about Vision's body. We get a similar event in this episode that we saw with Dead Vision.
Yeah.
So we see, and this is what was weird. So going back episode 4, we see Dead Vision. I talked about Dead Vision. It's going to scar me for the rest of my life. We'll never live that down. We see Dead Vision. And so we're thinking, oh, she's puppeting his body or something's going on, that this is Vision's actual body and she's hiding it from the world with this, fake Vision face, the normal Vision. We, in this episode, at the Spook Square and whatever thing.
Town Square Spook.
Yeah, that thing. We see Pietro, from Wanda's view, dead. Same thing. Though, a quick glance, we turn to him, and he's dead with the bullet holes all in his shirt that, reminiscent of Age of Ultron. However, it is not Aaron Taylor Thomas. It is still Evan Peters. So that makes me think,
just quick. It's Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Or Aaron Taylor Johnson. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry,
you're good.
Mr. Johnson. I respect you.
You said it once before, and I thought it was just a mistake, but I figured I'd correct you on this one.
Yeah, no, thank you. Aaron Taylor Johnson. I like the alliteration of Taylor Thomas.
Yeah,
sorry.
I agree. Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas. But yeah, so we see Evan Peters as this dead Quicksilver, which makes me think, again, going off, she didn't get Vision's body, or what we think happened with Vision's body didn't happen, and this is just an illusion, and she's remembering that Vision is dead. Same with Quicksilver. She's just remembering Quicksilver's dead, projecting that onto whatever is right in front of her at that moment. A little tangent, but I thought that was interesting.
That's good, because that reminded me of something I wanted to talk about.
I'll say, because if it is dead Vision, like actually Vision's corpse, you would think it would be Age of Ultron Quicksilver, not X-Men Quicksilver.
Yeah, so I saw another theory. It's out there, but it's the whole thing, like, this is, like, the whole thing is not real. Like, it's taking that to the next level, and it's really touching on how we see a dead Vision, we see a dead Quicksilver, and this is the first time we see kids in the neighborhood, too, because it's full of kids. And it, like, makes, like, someone was talking about how, like, they could have just been in bed asleep this whole time, and Wanda just decided to wake them up because it became an issue. But someone was talking about, like, Wanda could be alive in this, but whoever's, like, controlling it could be puppeteering, and they're all dead. It's like, all these people are dead. They filled the town. It's abandoned. All these people died in it, and now I think it's out there, but the supporting argument for it was Herb, because Herb's costume is Frankenstein, and it's going off the idea that their costumes represent what they are. So he would be like a culmination of body parts and stuff like that. But I don't really agree with it. But it also is playing on the idea that Herb's personality changes every time he shows up, and that doesn't happen with the other characters.
Yeah, I would say Herb has been a weird one for me as well. That, like, he has definitely changed every time.
Because he only ever has, like, a short part in each episode, but it's completely different. Like, even with Norm has had the same exact, like, pizzazz he has every time.
Yep. I would say, that Norm was going to be my example, too, of, like, the one hole I was going to poke in that is, like, if they're all dead, how could he pull Norm out of the... But there again, it could be, we know there are missing people, so maybe there are, maybe not everyone's dead. Maybe they just pulled dead people into here to.
So I just thought about it. Like, Norm's freaking out about it was like his sister about his dad or something.
His sister was watching his dad because his dad's sick.
It never, like, specifies if it was anything related to the blip or anything like that. It could have been like an accident that he died in. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. It kind of cover Marvel's tracks with not having to incorporate any of these people into future things.
Yeah.
But also going back to that, like, with Agnes, Norm was obviously very terrified for what was going on. And I think that really shows where Agnes stands in terms of her connections outside Westview. Yep. It's like she automatically goes to what's in front of her and, oh shit, this is happening. Ha 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 ha. Like, she's not concerned about anything outside. Like, I think it's clear she doesn't have any real connections outside of her immediate surroundings.
Well, and like,
except her husband
Ralph, which we still have yet to meet. But he has not been brought up in these last 2 episodes she's been in.
You're right.
She has not brought up Ralph. So interesting that the 2 episodes Peter's in, she has not brought up Ralph.
Fucking Mephisto.
I can't wait to be so blatantly wrong about all of this. Like, Marvel's like, gotcha again, dumbass.
Nothing happens. Wanda is the bad guy. She dies.
Yeah. But Agnes's comment too. She was like, because obviously she's like, where's the town square spook? I got lost. It's like, in the Vision's like, in the town you grew up. And then she didn't say anything. Again, it's like going back to, like, did she fuck up? Like, we've seen her fuck up the lines in the last episode. So if she's going along with it, did she actually just fuck up and, like, oh shit, like, I screwed up. What do I do now? Like, I really think she's got a bigger part in this, and she's playing it out to keep people confused.
Yeah, the one thing in the first episode, she claims that she didn't come to town till after Wanda and Vision were already there, because she says something about visit from her mother-in-law as the reason.
Yeah, because she said that it was implied that she had lived there, but that her in-laws were in town, so I wasn't. Like
Yeah.
and she was gone for that whole time until that first episode.
And
Interesting.
I did see another breakdown of like when exactly this happens. It is confirmed 3 weeks after the events of Endgame.
3 weeks? Okay.
Yeah. Because Endgame happened in October, and people are trying to say, so this happens in November, but it's also a theory that this episode happens on actual, like, Halloween in the actual world, and that's why shit gets weird, because it's all about how, like, Halloween is when the border between the human and the spirit world is at its thinnest, and stuff like that.
Eve shit. Yep.
I think that's just kind of interesting. There was one other thing I was going to say. Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You can go ahead.
I was going to say, because while we're on that, we're trying to place the events. How long after this? Because we see Darcy. Darcy mentions, hey, look, it's the guy who was almost murdered by his own murder squad. How long has it been since that happened in the real world?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Has it been like an hour like that?
I'm so sick of everything happening at nighttime.
Yeah.
I want the fun stuff to happen during the day. Explain it. Explain that.
Explain that. Well, no, I think it is. There's got to be some kind of time dilation, obviously, in the hex, and I think quickly, when Wanda walks out of the hex in the last episode, Darcy's TV loses signal. It shows that no signal box. So, kind of connecting with today's episode. Wanda's gone, or Wanda's out of people's range, they stop moving. Wanda's out of the hex, the whole thing shuts down. So talking about, what happens to those people while she's not in there, nothing. They are stopped. Yeah. We've seen that now.
Also, that made me think of, it does show them pulling in the drone that Wanda threw out, and it says Stark Industries on it for one, and it's from the 80s, so everything was Stark Industries, but two, it still has the red magic on it, which I think is pretty interesting. Ultron's going to show up, powered by Hex magic. Confirmed.
I wouldn't hate that. I feel like an Ultron coming back, I feel like that'd be really cool.
As long as James Spader still voices him, I'll be fine.
like especially now with all these new big bads, like we know X-Men are getting, flushed in, we're getting Fantastic Four. We need some big bad again, like a huge bad. Yeah. And I think Ultron's perfect for that now, with all the new nanobot, AI, all that sentient weapon shit that Sword's doing now. Ultron almost is the perfect big bad again.
All right, now, another thing that's not really important to the storyline. We get a flashback of Wanda and Peter trick-or-treating in Sokovia, and Peter's dressed up like Nick Fury, and he says his costume was lame. I think that's funny. Yeah. I didn't really pick up on... Go ahead.
I thought it was interesting that Wanda's classic outfit, her Scarlet Witch outfit, is just a Sokovian fortune teller.
I mean, Visions was a luchador.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a luchador.
I think those were just like, all right, what's something off-putting we can say about these to not have to get into detail.
Right.
But yeah, so going back to like stuff close to the edge, Wanda doesn't have control over. They're all frozen because she doesn't have the RAM for that. But two, we see her get angry and expand the borders, and as soon as people are encompassed by it, they are in character. Like all those circus people were in character, and that's further than the other reach. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And then another theory I saw, I got to remember the name. Google history. I'll pull it up on my phone. So it was saying how, Monica, she's been through the wall twice, and it altered her DNA. She's getting powers, confirmed. A bunch of people went through the wall. They're gonna have to come back out at some point.
Didn't even think about that. You're right.
Yep. And so it's that's rebuilding the world since there isn't Avengers anymore.
That
Oh, Death Cry. That's the theory. That Darcy is going to become Death Cry because, like, in the promotional poster and like the center TV screen, she has like a design on her costume, and they're like that could be her like circus costume, so she got sucked into the circus idea. But it's also very representative of like the face paint Death Cry has. I've never heard of her till today, but I just think that would be interesting. I do think that this might turn into a situation where they make more mutants.
I would say yeah, because I didn't even think about that until just now. That didn't even strike me about that episode. I heard that and I'm like, oh, okay, photon, that's cool. End of story. I'm done. Didn't even hit me when the border expanded that like, oh, this is gonna do that for everybody. So yeah, that like people have been theorizing how mutants are gonna get in here. People are thinking with all the snaps that took place, because obviously going with the multiverse, whatever's that Marvel set up, like this is the same continued universe that we got. This isn't a branch universe, whatever the fuck they're saying.
Yeah.
So this universe has had 4 snaps happen in it. So people were thinking like, oh, that's going to activate the mutants, and they're just quietly,
Yeah, because of like all the radiation.
And that might still be the case. It'd be interesting for other places. Obviously, talk about like Storm could show up in Black Panther 2. And stuff like that, having other Wolverine in possibly the Ten Rings movie as like a just fighter, because that's going to be more of a Mortal Kombat style movie. But yeah, having this event as well, giving people powers from a person who is a mutant, canonically is a mutant in like the X-Men world. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, and that'd be super fucking interesting.
Especially because I want to say it's in House of M, Wanda, she literally just utters the phrase "no more mutants," and there's just they gone.
Literally, I was talking with my dad earlier, and I'm like, this show is still not giving me enough answers. I have resorted to reading the comics. I've picked up the House of M comics, and I've been reading them. So yeah,
I think, like, I'm gonna say this many times. Cheers to the people who are producing these shows and movies. It takes such coordination, especially because, like, yeah, it feels like a lot, but the Marvel universe in general, the comic book universe, it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Stuff's been going on for how long? Like, they've been, like, we're essentially getting movie versions of the comic book universe, so it's going to be a long-running thing to really expand it.
Well, I'm saying it's interesting now because 10 years, we've had such a small scope of the Marvel Comics. We've had the Avengers, and even a small scope of the Avengers. There's been a lot of people to have the title Avengers.
Yeah, because I mean, even X-Men, like, that's technically Marvel. I don't know enough about X-Men comics to understand if they're really following events of X-Men comics. I would assume they have some basis in it, but like, Marvel obviously owns the rights to the comic book material. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm going to keep saying that. I love the idea of actually having weekly episodes. I know a lot of people don't like it because they're like, oh, we need more. We forgot how to watch TV. But, like, I also enjoy how they're not going to overlap them. Like, they're going to have show, space. I think that gives people time to really process the information a lot better and connect them. Thank you, Kevin Feige.
Thank you, Kevin Feige. Honestly, I'm happy. I'm so happy that it's Feige still producing, because like, he's been in Marvel for so long. It's like he's just one of us. He's just a fucking nerd who's like, I want to do this, and we're doing it, and we're gonna do this over the course of 4 fucking movies and a TV show. Like, I love that.
Yeah, wait to see what Marvel's doing in 2050. I am 50 years old. I will still be following.
So speaking of other shows, the next show coming up, whatever the fuck, is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. No ties to mutants. It's Captain America. The Captain America world has always been more disconnected from the rest of the Avengers. And we know that Baron Zemo and his classic purple mask costume is coming back, and Batroc the Leaper from Winter Soldier, the French guy that fights Cap, is coming back. So, do we?
It's almost
do you, like, sorry.
it's almost a guarantee that they're gonna do like name drops or references to the events that happen in WandaVision. Because like that's one thing we have not seen at all. If there's any coverage in the media about what's happening in Westview, like it's
Yep.
a sword thing, so you would think it'd be covered, but obviously like having like essentially a military base pop up out of nowhere, like we don't really know the surrounding area all that well, but I feel like that's a hard thing to hide. Or at least the final events is going to get some name like the Westview incident or some shit like that. I think that'll be brought up. Because, I mean...
like, where do we think Falcon Winter Soldier is going to take place? Is it going to be alongside, like timeline-wise alongside it? Or is it going to be, after the events? Maybe still in between Homecoming and whatnot?
It could. I feel like it would be after Far From Home, just because... This is like their stepping stone to it. I don't think they would want another one. I feel like that would just be packing it too tightly.
I agree.
Or maybe in line with Far From Home. Like we might see them watching a newsreel of Night Monkey, and they'll be like, "Wait a minute,
that's the guy who beat us up in
that's
Germany."
Queens."
That's Queens.
So like I don't know. I don't know. I would say. Not in between. I'd say either in line Far From Home or after Far From Home. But we still have plenty of time to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel
like
you go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. I was gonna say I'm interested because obviously we know the Phase 1, like Iron Man 2, Cap, Thor, like none of them connected to each other, but then obviously we've seen the end product. So I'm interested to see how all these different things, we've got reality bending in one world and then fucking Captain America world again, always disconnected. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these connect up. Again, introducing who's gonna be the fucking big bad. We don't know. We don't have an end game yet. We don't know who we're fighting yet. I
mean, I think like Darcy and Wu are kind of a representation of them trying to bring the odd worlds out of together because we haven't seen Darcy or Jane since like Thor 1. It's like, I mean, she was in Thor 2, but no one watched Thor 2, so we haven't seen her since Thor 1.
Yeah.
So, and like obviously Jane is gonna be making an appearance in the new Thor movie because she is female Thor. And so that might be like a reason for them to bring Darcy in and be like that. And like Wu, like Ant-Man is another one that's been essentially stationary away from everything else. Same with like Captain America. So I think those might be like stepping stones to kind of bring stuff together to at least make
Coulson
references.
Coulson connecting everything together. That was
just to have at least one line of contact between the worlds of these shows.
Yep.
But like Captain America's team is so like by themselves that like Falcon and Winter Soldier don't really have connections with anyone in this show.
Yeah, I was saying not to break this. Like I don't want to get too much into it, obviously, but I am excited for this next show. But do we think that is going to be? We know they're talking to some kind of organization in that trailer. Do we think it's SWORD or who are they working with? That's going to be another.
Could be good. I mean, I do think SWORD is 100% going to be referenced a whole lot more.
Yeah,
especially. That'd be another reason for it to be after Far From Home, is because we obviously see that SWORD is more established in what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But because we see them in space after Far From Home, it makes me think not, just because if their attention's turned to other things. Like, I could see it just being like an actual, like, real world organization, like FBI picked them up and they're like, yeah, you have to do community service because of what you did. And they're like, fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're war criminals. So I don't know. Yeah, let's not get too far into that. I'm really excited for that one. Right, I want it to be Starsky and Hutch. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's what I want to. But about 6 minutes left. Any final comments on WandaVision? Anything we didn't cover? Anything you want to talk about? I think we hit everything I wanted to. A lot of weird comments. It really does seem like they're setting up Peter to be bad. It would be weird now to turn. From JFlex, what do you think the layout of the next episodes will be? That's actually a good point. We should, yeah.
Just thought of it, but I wanted to be funny.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna. I thought about it earlier to ask, like, what do we think? How these next episodes are gonna run? I don't know. This separation between Monica and Wu and Hayward's SUV or tactical truck, that's interesting. Like, I think Monica's going to get her engineer. Hayward's going to run, but it's interesting. And is the border going to keep spreading, or we saw Vision get sucked back in? Is that what Wanda's goal was? Get Vision back in and get the sword base in to stop them from meddling with her. So will the border stop expanding, or will it keep going? Will we get some Avengers level threat now? Some whatever level of that? I don't know. We got the Halloween episode, and we knew we were right.
All I wanted.
That's all we wanted. We knew that shit was breaking down right here. Like, this is what we knew shit was going to happen. We know that they still have to fight. Vision says something along the lines of, "This is our home, let's fight for it." So I think that's going to be the next episode. Obviously, now they're fighting.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
I think we're due for another sword focus only episode. Like, we know what happened with Halloween. We know that these people are going to have a reaction to what happened with Vision. And we have to follow the events of Monica going to meet this engineer and getting their vehicle ready. So I think the next one, like, it might still kind of touch about what's going on inside. We might see Vision back with Wanda and her, like, freaking out on him. But I think the next episode will be heavily focused on what Monica and Wu are doing.
That's true.
And then the episode after that, I think, will be when we get the Modern Family-esque thing. And then by the end of that, shit will go to shit. And then we'll get the finale.
One more sword, one more Wanda land that'll put us right in the 2010s era with Modern Family. And
then it will combine.
We're caught up with eras, so now final episode.
But that's another thing is Incredibles came out in 2004. So that being on the thing, and it's based on Malcolm in the Middle, which first aired in 2000.
So like very much a Malcolm in the Middle, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody style. Like
that's what I was saying with the last episode, because it combined stuff that was heavily 80s and 90s. So I think this is trying to get into the early 2000s to make up some space, because like, obviously, events of Endgame, that was in the 2020s, so they kind of need to skip ahead a bit.
Right.
But the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, those were the most, like, clear divisions between, like, TV. So those were good options, and now they can kind of combine it because there's not as big of a separation.
Right.
So that's my theory on it. And closing remarks. Hayward. Letters in his name spell Hydra.
With a W.
Well, no, like, there's two extra letters.
There's there's a W and an A. Hydra, wah.
I don't care. Also, wait.
No, but I agree. Like, there's something with Hayward, like, especially after today's episode, not wanting to run in to help Vision, tracking Vision. There is something there. Are you ready?
For this? Are you ready for this, Drake?
I'm ready for
Dictionary definition of a Hayward.
Here we go.
An officer who's appointed to guard hedges and to keep cattle from breaking or cropping them, and whose further duty is to impound animals found running at large. Someone who guards a closed area.
You're pulling out all the definitions on me tonight. I love it.
I had to.
No, but that's good. No, because that's what we've seen him do. Like, obviously, he's not. It doesn't seem like he wants information. He's controlling the situation. He just wants Wanda dead. That's all he wants.
Like, I think that's just Marvel being like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Wanda, Marvel doesn't make mistakes. You know that they planned everything down to the T. There's no mistakes. Never.
I just know if I ever get to the level of making stuff, I'm going to strictly put things in just because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
if other people figure it out, good for them.
All right. That's gonna be it. I don't have any closing remarks. You got mine. So Wednesday night we are gonna watch Infinity War in the Discord as a watch party. Kind of wrap up our WandaVision watch-alongs, and then we'll see you back here 8 p.m. Friday night, next Friday, for episode 7. All right,
Yes,
thank you guys.
sir.
Peace out. Love y'all. See you next time.